Hello and welcome back to the Starting Story podcast with your host Krishna Palmer. Here we dive into business backstories and the decisions people take that lead them to success. Today I have a very special guest. Her name is Carolyn Ann Wood. She is a self-relationship and mindset coach, heart healer and hypnotherapist who's originally from South Africa but is currently residing in Malta. After experiencing significant personal loss and struggling with emotional challenges for decades, she embarked on a journey of self-discovery and healing. She specializes in using the heart healing modality, which is a hypnotherapy-based approach that integrates both Eastern and also Western healing philosophies to address the mind, body, heart, and soul, which ultimately helps women identify and overcome their limiting beliefs through subconscious healing techniques. I look forward to talking about Carolyn's journey into health and well-being, but then also more importantly to how she went and currently sets up for her clients and helps them in their lives. So Carolyn, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. It's a beautiful day, and the year is slipping by really fast, but I'm really happy to be here having a conversation with you today.
Amazing. Well, do you want to start off by talking a bit more about kind of your backstory behind, because this wasn't something that you started off with straight away, is it? This is something that actually started off later on. So what were the culminating factors that led up to it?
So at the age of 13, I lost my mom to leukemia. And I had very much been a mommy's girl. So with her loss, I kind of didn't really know who I was anymore. And then subsequent to losing my mom, we also then lost our home and all of the comforts and things that we had known because of my mom's hospital bills. And so my kind of teenage life from there on had just been struggle, scarcity, trying to survive day to day. And we all, like I've got, my parents had 4 kids, so we all just kind of went within. My dad went within because he was just trying to, keep the family together and with a roof over our heads and fed. And we had never really been taught how to process our emotions. And so we just shut ourselves off. And this led to me doing that for the next 3 decades, just kind of numbing out my life. I'd go to work, I'd come home, I'd get a bottle of wine, drink wine, watch TV, go to sleep, repeat, and then the weekends would come and I'd just be out partying, just distractions, to stop yourself from thinking about, real life. And then I moved to Malta in my early 40s, and within the first couple of years, I lost 2 friends to suicide in the UK. And it was heartbreaking. There were 2 women from very different lifestyles, and from each perspective, you would think that they had everything that they wanted. The one had her family, her kids, her lifestyle, and then the other one had, her kind of starting her career and, living with the guy that she loved, all of these things. And you just kind of think, if they had everything that they want and they still felt like the only way out was through taking their own lives, there's something just not right with this. And I recognized that I'd been numbing myself for 3 decades, and I was probably on the same path because I just kept waiting for someone to rescue me, to make my life easier. And so when the second lady took her life, I was like, okay, I need to sort myself out. And so this started my journey into learning about the law of attraction, learning about spirituality. I started learning about tapping, emotional freedom technique. I'd previously in my 20s considered studying hypnotherapy. And then, of course, hypnotherapy came up again through so I signed up and I learned rapid transformational therapy, and then subsequently the most recent qualification, heart healing. And it's been really hard. It's been really challenging. And the thing is, we suffer these experiences in our lives, and we build these walls around our hurts and pains, which we carry in our hearts, all the feelings of betrayal, abandonment, whatever it is, loss, grief, it lives in our heart. And every time we feel a little bit of pain, we build another layer around it. And I just think like there comes a point in life where there's just no more space to build any more layers. And this is where things like overwhelm, burnout, suicidal thoughts leading to suicide, all of these things come from, because there's nowhere else to go and it needs a way to express. And so it expresses in ways that don't feel good, but you feel it's the only way out. I've experienced burnout, I've experienced massive stress and anxiety, and I truly do believe it's because of all of these things that we've been suppressing all of our lives unintentionally, not knowing that we're doing it. We just haven't been taught how to kind of process these things. And we're told you need to exercise because it's good for your health. We're told we need to read because it's, you know, good for your mind. But nobody really kind of says, has kind of linked it all together, you know. And we need all of these things because we need to stimulate our mind. We need to keep learning and evolving, and we need to work with our body. You know, everything about life is flow. And so if you're feeling stuck, it's because there's a blockage. If you're feeling upset, it's because there's something that you're not seeing. And my personal journey was all about self-rejection. And so this is why I am now a self-love coach, because the most important relationship that we can have in this world is the relationship that we have with ourselves. We need to get good with all elements of ourselves, and we need to learn to integrate all of these things into our lives. So the importance of the healthy diet, the importance of, you know, exercising and moving so that you're releasing all of that tension, all that stress, all of those fears from your body. So yeah, for me, once you can fall in love with yourself and you learn to trust yourself again, you learn to accept who you are, warts and alls, all the flaws, all of the things, then this is the key to unlocking the life that you desire. If you're into manifesting, then I truly believe this is the key to becoming that magnet to all that you desire. Why? Because love is the highest vibration. You know, it's right up there. I don't know if you know about Abraham Hicks emotional guidance scale, but love is at the very top of the scale. And the highest vibration is where you're feeling good, you're finding fun in every day, you're kind of like a kid at Christmas, you know, with wide-eyed joy and wonder, like the sun is shining, wow, or it's raining. Isn't it amazing how the rain just falls and comes when it needs, you know, to fall? So you open yourself up to being in the flow of life. And when you're in the flow of life, it means that your heart is open to receive all the things that you desire, including love, including acceptance, including respect from your peers. But it all starts from within.
Right. So your story is kind of, so it's almost it's a very long story, right? Because a lot of people that I've spoken to, they'll say, oh, something happened and then next year I was like, I need to change. Whereas for you, it's like decades of kind of like building up and then realizing something needs to happen here, especially when you lost your two friends. You're like, something needs to change, because if they weren't happy in a better situation than me, then it's only going to come to me at some point, right? And first of all, having that self-awareness is a good thing to do, and that's something that really pops up along a lot of times in these episodes. Self-awareness is so key, because if you are constantly in the search for, I don't know, external factors and not really keeping an eye on yourself or how you're feeling at the time or your reactions to something, being self-aware and self-critical is what's kind of going to allow you to then see the change, or at least identify that change needs to happen in the first place, which is what we saw with you. So you were kind of starting to talk about the things you've learned, right? First of all, you said you did different modalities, which we'll get onto in terms of what that means. But then you also talked about how you kind of taught yourself this idea of energy and kind of how your mind works and how you have to untangle the knots for yourself. So do you want to talk a bit more about when you're in that pit, when you're right at the bottom and you're kind of feeling, you're struggling, you're feeling stuck, how did you go about reaching out to these things? How did you even identify what things were going to help you and what weren't going to help you?
So it's really hard, and I have found that every time I am down, it's different things, it's different techniques that I've learned that will pull me out again. I would say probably the most effective thing for me is physically moving my body.
Right.
Which, when you're feeling depressed and you're feeling down, the last thing you want to do is get up and move. You just want to lay there watching TV or in the dark in your room with a duvet over you, pretending that life doesn't exist. But honestly, movement truly is the answer to everything. So when I have been in the doldrums, the pits of despair, getting myself up off that sofa has been the hardest thing. But when I do, when I just get up, even if I'm just pacing up and down my hallway, even if I start tapping really helps. Even if it's just getting on my trampoline and jumping up and down for a bit, or recently I've started doing very gentle Tai Chi movements. So it's just very gentle exercise. But all of these things help. Once you can get the energy starting to flow again, you start to come alive bit by bit, slowly but surely.
I think it's really interesting to me when I speak to someone that's kind of in this realm of kind of like this grey area between actual physical movement, also like spiritual movement, because I think nowadays spirituality in general is very highly related to religion, and it's very much seen as something that doesn't belong in the modern world. And I think it's really interesting how it can actually be put into and integrated into our lives. Like for example, who would have thought that if you're depressed, or if you're not depressed, let's say you're feeling low, or even you're not chronically depressed, let's say just that day something happened and you're not feeling well, who would have thought that moving around would help, right? But I think, I don't know, it's one of those things where maybe because mentally you feel stuck, if you can at least physically tell your body that, well, we're not stuck because we're moving around, maybe mentally your brain also thinks, oh, well, we're actually not fully stuck because we've just gone on a run. Or if you're not gone on a run, we've actually just done some tapping exercises, or we've done some Tai Chi, depending on your physicality. I think it's kind of the synchronicity between your mental and your physical body. And I think that's something that people only really understand when they've gone through a hard period of time, or they've gone through something that's really difficult and seen how it helps. Like me today, this morning, I came from a swim. I didn't need to, but it just makes me feel good, you know? You wake up in the morning, you go for a little swim, and you feel, you get the energy going. Whereas if I'd done something different, let's say I'd woken up, had breakfast and caught the bus here, then my energy levels would not be high.
The same, exactly.
So it's interesting how it works, and it's just an experimental process, right?
Yeah.
But when it comes to these modalities that you're learning, because there's one thing people are learning off books and maybe podcasts or websites or courses, but then it's another thing actually having like a modality and accreditation that you've learned off, right? So let's say somebody does want to go into this realm of spiritually enhancing others' lives and teaching them. How do they choose what modality to agree with? Because I have no idea on this. So could you explain a bit more of what it's like? Why are there different modalities? Do they teach different things? Are there different teachers? What does that mean?
So there are so many different healing modalities out there at the minute, and the way that I've discovered the modalities that I've ended up training in has been through sort of taking part in free kind of masterclasses where there's like a group session given, and just through those I have personally felt such big shifts and such changes that it's convinced me enough to then go and invest thousands in these modalities. I think you just have to follow what feels good to you, and we're all unique, right? There's so many people in this world and we're all unique, and different modalities are going to help different people. So I truly believe you need to feel some sort of affinity, some sort of connection with the person that you are trying to connect to, or who is offering this modality that maybe you want to learn, or maybe you want to experience a session in. I think it's important to know who they are and to kind of feel their energy, because the more you can feel safe with someone who's either the teacher or the healer, the better you are going to feel. And that's the one thing that I am very conscious of, is creating a safe space for my clients. And my clients have they always say, like, she creates such a safe space, and that is what is the most important, because there has to be trust in order for me to facilitate your healing journey. You need to know that what comes up is safe and it stays in these four walls. So if you feel like unsure, then follow, then follow and grow to learn, grow to trust the person. But yes, there are so many healing modalities in the world. Follow your heart. Your heart never lies. Your intuition never lies. And this is the whole thing about falling back in love with yourself, creating the strong foundational relationship in your life, is because then you do trust yourself. You do start to follow your gut instinct, And the thing is, energy never lies. Energy never, ever lies. So, if you're making a decision, you get a feeling in your body whether or not it's the right decision. And if you say yes, and it's a full body yes, and that's right. But if you say yes and your body has been saying no, then when you're in that situation of whatever it is that you've said yes to, your body is going to keep telling you no. And the more that you ignore it, the worse it becomes, So all of these things are sent to teach us. But yes, energy never lies. So follow the message that your body is giving you, because your body knows, your soul knows, your heart knows what is right for you and what is wrong for you. And even if it's a full body yes, and it ends up being an experience that you feel is not good for you, trust and know that you needed to have that experience because it's teaching you something. It doesn't make you a victim. It makes you a student of life, and you're learning how to overcome a particular challenge. You're learning how to deal with a particular challenge. You're learning how to make decisions that feel aligned in every way.
Okay, so that kind of explains. So even though there are loads of different learning programs out there, you have to find what's right for you just by practicing. And I like that you said you can still attend like the free events that people will have, or their taster sessions, for example, just to kind of get an idea of who they are. Because
yes, exactly.
You have to because everyone's story is different, and realistically, right, there are so many spiritual advisors out there, but everyone's story will be slightly different. So for example, someone who may have come from depression, someone who may have survived a car crash, someone who may have come from a disability, someone who may have come from a bereavement, they're all different, right? And it also means that the client bases that they'll help will also be different. So you don't, that's something I'm sure you can also testament later in terms of the people you help out. It's not like you aim to help everyone, right? Because then again, it's the same thing. The same problem happens if you go into advise someone, but you say any problem I can solve. Suddenly it dilutes what you can help effectively, and you start having people who you've not been able to help that much because you don't really understand their backstory. So because everyone's style is different, everyone's journey is different, I think that's why the modality they'll pick up is also different, I assume. And that's something that you can only really get from experimenting and seeing which one works for you. And if it works for you, then you'll be just more confident in sharing with others, right? So what was kind of your journey with that in terms of the first kind of official accreditation that you kind of went for, and then how did you kind of go on from that?
So the first official one was probably rapid transformational therapy. I've done like a few like shorter courses on law of attraction, and I've done like a couple of courses in coaching as well. But I think the most significant back in the day was rapid transformational therapy, which I started in 2020 or 2021. I can't remember now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also a hypnotherapy based modality, which is very healing. And then subsequent to that, I then discovered heart healing, which is more of a spiritual hypnotherapy based modality. And I'm all about love, and I'm all about the heart. And so the name itself is just like
Heart healing,
it's supposed to be for me. Yeah. And what I particularly love about this modality is Natasha Lee Bray, who is the founder, she only trains a certain number of heart healers each year because she doesn't want it to become so diluted. We have to apply, we have to, send in an application describing our story and why we want to, take part in this healing. And she's just recently starred in a movie which is coming out. It's being launched fairly soon, actually, with Dr. Joe Vitale, called Zero Limits, where she's going to be talking about this modality. And she actually gives a live demonstration during the movie of what people can expect. And for me, it's because it's connecting to your spiritual, you're connecting to your higher self, you're connecting to your soul, really, and you're able to go back to whatever it is that you're healing on. It can heal a range of things, but for me, because it's about falling back in love with yourself, it is about learning to trust yourself again, learning to believe yourself, learning to understand that you are lovable exactly as you are enough. And so yeah, it's about coming back to a wholeness within yourself, feeling complete, feeling good enough just as you are, and knowing that you can trust yourself, and knowing that your intuition isn't taking you wrong. Your gut instinct, that feeling in your gut, it's guiding you to your path, that you're supposed to be going on.
Right. Well, the name heart healing itself kind of gives a little bit away, doesn't it? It's about if you told anyone, they would say something along the lines of the heart's been damaged at some point and we're teaching people how to heal it. And that's kind of what you're doing, right? The whole premise of this modality, from what you've told me, is for people who have suffered and they've kind of carried the scars along with them, and it's about trying to tell them that it's okay and we can find a way out of this and there's a better life on the other side. And that's kind of what you're trying to change them with, right? So what kind of makes this unique in terms of, because I'm genuinely intrigued now, what is it that's in terms of, is it a procedure that you do? I read somewhere that you have them do something, but then afterwards you give them for 25 weeks, I think it was, or 25 days, I think it was days, where you give them a video, a personalized video. I mean, what is it that's different about heart healing that really helps the clients?
So it's a guided journey into your heart. So we're working in the heart space, taking you back to a memory which triggered your feelings of not being able to trust yourself or love yourself. And usually with the core heart wounds, the acceptance wound, the enoughness wound, the trust wound, the lovability wound, and the worth wound, these are usually related to the very first years of your life with your core caregivers. So your main caregivers, be it parents or grandparents or extended family, or if you grew up in an orphanage, then it would be the carers in the orphanage or adopted, whatever it is. These are usually the people who had the most influence on your upbringing in those formative years. And so whether or not they intentionally or unintentionally caused your heart to feel pain, because you can come from a loving family, parents who loved you, but they will still be, we all have our different moods. Our moods fluctuate each day. And so your mom shouting at you when you're 3, walking up close to her while she's cooking at the stove doesn't mean she doesn't love you. It means she's scared you're going to get birds. But when you're 3, you don't understand that. All you understand is, Mom shouted at me, I've done something wrong, I'm not good enough, she doesn't love me. So from the perspective of like a 3-year-old, you are only able to understand with a 3-year-old mind. And that's how your cells, how your subconscious remembers it, that memory doesn't grow with you, it stays with you at that level. And so during these heart healing sessions, we connect to memories like that, and you kind of, we talk about it. And so the client is so hypnosis is just a very deep state of going within.
Right.
So the client is aware, and we're having a conversation, and they're connecting to this memory, and they're starting to see, oh yes, I understand now. I can see that Mom wasn't angry with me. She just didn't want me to get birds accidentally when she's stirring the gravy or whatever it was. And so you're able to see, oh yeah, no, Mom didn't actually mean that. She didn't mean to hurt me like that. It was just her trying to protect me. So it's actually the opposite of me not being lovable. It's because she loves me that's why she shouted at me. That's just a very simple kind of logic example that I've given. But then throughout your life, you have other similar situations where people will shout you, and they that further confirms imprints the belief that I'm not lovable, I'm not good enough, I did something wrong. And so as you're growing older, this is the feeling that you're carrying into adulthood with you. And what does it mean? It means you don't apply for the promotion because you don't think you're good enough. You're out with friends and you have something important to say, but you don't want to say it because you think that they might laugh at you. So it's these things all come out in your life as you are growing older. And so during the heart healing, we can see and we can make sense of it. And then we go, okay, so what is it that you prefer to believe? Oh yeah, I prefer to know that I'm lovable. I prefer to, believe that I am good enough and I am capable, and all of these things. And then at the end of it, we do an imprint where it's positive affirmations intertwined with you are trustworthy and you can trust yourself and it's safe to trust yourself and all of these things. And then I record that part of the session, and then the client takes that away. And the importance of that is the mind learns through repetition. So that's why you need to go home and you listen to it either first thing in the morning or last thing at night as you're going to bed. Why? Because your mind is in that very receptive, suggested state. And so listening to that recording, telling you that you are capable and you can do the thing that you want to do and your business will be a success, and it is safe to speak up in a meeting or to go for that promotion, whatever it is. The more that you're listening to this, the more that your subconscious is taking it in, and what that's doing is rewiring. It's creating new neural pathways. So it's overriding the I'm not good enough to apply for a promotion, I'm not lovable, or I'm not capable. So it's really the most fundamental part of the healing process. We do the deep work during the session, which takes around 60-ish minutes. I always allow a little bit of extra time because you never know what's going to come out. So that session is truly important to get to the root cause, and then taking home the recording is the homework. It's like when you go to a doctor and he gives you a prescription, if you want to fight this antibiotic, this is what you need to take to get rid of it. That's what this is. This is your prescription. You have to go home and listen to this at least once a day so that we're rewiring these new neural pathways. And the more that your mind's doing it, the more that you're going about your day believing I am capable, and you're taking the action. That's why the conscious work is just as important as the subconscious work, because if you're listening to the recording but you're not actually taking action during the day, it's going to be less effective. So if you want to have like the true impetus, then it's doing the things like moving your body. Okay, I'm capable. I can get up off the sofa and I can go for a walk and I can do my Tai Chi or whatever it is, you know? So yeah, that's how it works.
So it's very similar to, it's almost like people over the years have had their guards up for something, whatever that may
Yes.
be, and it's about breaking that brick wall and showing them that you
Yes.
can get through it. And when
breaking
you do
down the barriers.
Yeah, exactly, breaking down the barriers and showing them something that maybe for years they've walled off and
Yes.
they've never even explored. And that could be anything, as you, the example you use, like not talking to people, sometimes being introverted, sometimes forcing themselves to not speak because it's like, oh, what if this goes wrong? And sometimes it's about telling people, yeah, but what if it goes right? And
exactly,
you should take that. So when you do this and when you have those sessions with people, are there any common patterns you notice with people? I mean, people's problems are always going to be different, but is there something you notice where you say something or you give them a certain idea or a framework where a lot of times people may go, oh, I never thought about it that way?
So there's always, it happens at different moments during the session. I can't talk too much about the actual different parts of the session because they're all trademarks and they're kind of they're trademarked by Natasha. But there's always about halfway through the session when they are realizing that they're not that small child anymore, or even if it's something that happened, you know, a year ago, they're not that same person. They've grown, they've evolved, they've done something new, and there's this lightness that comes over them, and I start to see them sitting up straighter and their shoulders go back and their skin literally starts to glow because they've realized that's not me anymore, and I do get to make my own choices. So it's always in the last kind of just before we go into the reframing part of it, where we're imprinting the new positive affirmations. There's always this moment, and it's beautiful. It makes my soul sing every time I see it, to kind of, because they're reclaiming a part of themselves. They're reconnecting back to their soul, to a piece of their soul, and they're understanding that this thing, whatever it is, it's been stopping them from being able to express who they are, to showing up in their lives, being the amazing, lovable, wonderful person that they were always meant to be.
Right, okay. So it's like seeing that kind of relief wash over them as they start to see through. Wow, amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I can only imagine how that must feel from a coach perspective as well, just seeing that all this effort you put into this person that sometimes may seem walled off and not really wanting to move, and then suddenly they go, whoa, oh my gosh, there's something else for me. Yeah, that must feel amazing. So how do you then reach out to people when you want to get more people in, right? Because this, from what you've told me, sounds very much like people come in, they do a couple of sessions, and then they kind of, hopefully if all's gone well, you've given them, not only have you healed them at the point, but you've also given them the tools and skills they'll need so that they don't fall back into the same state again. So how do you reach out to more people? Is it all word of mouth, or do you do other things?
So I have a lot of word of mouth. I do need to up my marketing game. That is something I do need to do. I'm on TikTok. I go to a lot of networking events locally to myself in Malta. I've been doing quite a few speaking events around and about. So yeah, it's the one thing that I would say about starting a business is I invested in the wrong things first. The thing that I wish I'd invested in the most was marketing support. That's the one thing that I've always been like, actually, the thing that you kind of need. And I think the reason why people don't do it is it's because it's the part that probably scares them the most.
Right. Yeah.
So it feels the most uncomfortable. Why? Because it means you've got to show up. It means you've got to speak up. It means you've got to talk about your services and the things that you want to do. And the things that feel most uncomfortable are the things that we avoid. And that's why we don't want to go into the heart and face these, kind of fears and and pains that we've had because we want to protect ourselves from them. So it's the job of the amygdala, I never say it right, that part of the brain that kind of keeps us safe, is to keep us safe. And so it keeps us safe by staying in our comfort zone. And so the marketing part of it, getting out there, kind of speaking about the things that you need to do, being visible every day, is the part that a lot of people feel most uncomfortable about, unless they've come from a marketing sort of background where they've been doing this thing daily in their lives anyway. So I would say for me that's probably been my biggest struggle, and it's something that I'm truly focusing on now, because I recognize it makes me feel the most uncomfortable, because that's where, you know, all the success is. You've got to get out there, you've got to be brave.
Because I was trying to figure out, for something like this, what even would be the best channel, because they always say when you're running any business, you need to know your client base, you need to know kind of who you're helping, what age group are they, what gender are they, what problems do they come with, where do they hang out the most, where do they speak the most, and trying to get there, right? So for this area in terms of spiritual well-being and health and wellness, what would be kind of like, is there a particular gold standard in terms of something that if you can get that done, then you'll get people to look into you? Because I've seen people who come on podcasts, they have a website, of course, but then also people who make documentaries, they'll make movies, they'll start a YouTube channel. There's just so many options, but of course some will work and some won't. So do you have anything to say on that?
So what was I going to say? The thing that really works in the well-being arena when it comes to spirituality and hypnotherapy and doing things like this is really offering free masterclasses where you get to experience a mini kind of taster session of what a heart healing experience is.
Okay.
So having something like that is kind of the very first step where you start to build this relationship with your clients. On my website, I have, like, you know, signing up for the newsletter, which comes with a hypnotherapy recording to boost kind of self-confidence and self-love. So freebies like that, that's just, you just sign up and then you take it home and you listen to it. Showing up to a masterclass, a webinar where you're talking about whatever it is. So you want to say, for instance, I want to do a masterclass on how to build your self-confidence. It would be talking about what is self-confidence, what are the blocks, how does it show up in your life, and then the benefits of kind of boosting your self-confidence, what it's going to give you, and then you end with this taster session, which is transformative. I mean, you have to create transformation in the webinar, in the masterclass. If you're not creating a transformation, then nobody's going to want to come back. So it's doing that and then upselling into group programs or into one-on-one programs. One of my tools is I have the High Vibe Besties book club, which is like €8 a month, and we just read a book around self-development and personal growth each month. And this is another way to kind of be there leading people, where you're learning together, you're implementing new ideas together. So yeah, there are so many different tools, but do what feels good for you. If it doesn't feel good, then don't do it. You know, I've had people saying to me, maybe you should just give up the book club. And I'm like, that's a non-negotiable, because the book club makes me feel good. Like, I get so much out of it. And if I want to commit to reading a book by myself every single month, why not do it in a community of people who are also interested in doing the same thing? So I think the thing is, when you follow your bliss, when you follow your passion, when you're doing something that benefits you and you can see the benefit in other people, this is where you will find the most success.
And I think that's a real testament to when people think that there's only one size fits all and that there can only be one thing that you do. I mean, just look at any coach out there. Every single one has a different idea on how you should succeed. And whilst that confuses some people, they'll look at it and they'll be like, well, this person said to do this person said to start a YouTube channel, this person said to do a documentary, this person said to do free masterclasses, what do I do? But I think the main takeaway from so much variation in advice is that there is no right or wrong. If everyone's got different ideas, it means if everyone's got different ideas and all of them work, then there clearly is no right or wrong, right? It's just which one works for you is going to be most likely to lead to a change. And the things that don't 100%. Work for you, either it's going to feel, if it doesn't work for you, either it's going to feel like a drag, or you're just not going to be able to commit to it. And that can almost be even worse, right? Especially, let's say you were hating the book club. You don't, amazingly, but let's say you were, and you do it for a year, and then after the year you're like, oh, this has been so awful, I'm not feeling it, let me just stop it. And now you look to yourself and you're like, well, that was a failure, why did I do that? It's like I shouldn't have continued if I didn't enjoy it in the first place. Whereas when you do enjoy it, you have no problem continuing it. So I suppose that's the right answer really. When I was asking for, is there a gold standard? There is no gold standard. It's just do whatever works for you, and basically whatever gets your point across to the people, right?
Yes.
And I'm sure you also ask your clients as well to see like where did they come from, and what did they, for example, if someone's done a free masterclass of yours or seen the video or signed up to the newsletter, do they give you advice or some kind of feedback on how that made them feel? Was it transformative? How did that kind of get them involved?
So I get testimonials from people I've done sessions with. I do need to get better at kind of asking for feedback and inputs, from the book club and from newsletters and things. But the testimonials that I've had from working in the sessions, the one thing that is common to all of them is that Carolyn creates a safe space and she has a really soothing voice, which is great because that's my goal. I want them to feel safe with me. I want them to know that, that they're safe in my presence. And so that's the common theme amongst all. But I've worked with people from all areas of life, people who are just feeling low and need a boost, or people who are trying to grow their business. And so the outcome that they get is whatever the reason is that's brought them into, kind of working with me. So I've had people who wanted to grow their business, and that's exactly what's happened. They've been more visible. They've started selling programs and calling in extra income. I've had other people who felt uncomfortable in social situations, and so now they don't feel uncomfortable anymore. Now they kind of know their worth and their value. It starts with loving yourself, and a lot of these things are wrapped up in stress and anxiety. And stress and anxiety, I believe, comes from self-rejecting, because you're giving your power away. You're not understanding that your power comes from within, and when you're in the thick of it, when you're in the thick of a stressed out situation or a dark moment, you can't always see that because you are in victim mode, because you're feeling like the world's got something against me or whatever it is, you're in the thick of it. But when you come out of it, when you have this self-awareness and you can reflect, you can always see, you can always identify where you were giving your power away. And you give your power away because you're self-rejecting, and you're self-rejecting because you don't trust yourself, you don't believe yourself. So, yeah.
Wow. So that kind of is a really good way to kind of tie things, really, because, in our conversation, not only have we kind of discussed what you're doing, but then also, because it's difficult, and I get that when you're doing as much as you might not think of what you're doing as an art, it really is. Because being able to see people through struggles and being able to, first of all, empathize with them, seeing the way through and helping them is an art, and it's something that not many people can do. And I'm sure even I couldn't do it. If you were to sit in front of me, someone who has really for decades been struggling, and I was the person who was responsible, or at least kind of taken up the responsibility of helping them, I'd be overwhelmed. I'd be like, oh my gosh, what do? I don't want to make things worse, but I don't know what to do to make things right. So it really is an art, and I can see the dichotomy that happens when not only are you trying to follow the passion of the art, but then also running the business and the finances side of it, right? And it almost seems like, how do you do the both things? But you have to. So
You have to.
you have to, right? Otherwise, it's as much as we'd love to not worry about the money, you kind of have to think about it. But yeah, I kind of like your idea of, instead of focusing on the money, focus more on the value in terms of the free masterclasses, making sure if you are going to give a masterclass, making sure it is transformative. There's no point for the sake of it, making a masterclass, sending out there and people look at it and they're like, well, what was that? You want people to look at it and go, wow, I never thought about things that way. You want to twist their minds in a way they wouldn't have done before. And if anything, if you can successfully do that, it's a testament to your skills as a coach, which is why people will come in, because if you are able to loop their mind, or unloop their mind, I suppose I should say, unknot their mind, then they're going to trust you a bit more because they know you have the skills and expertise needed to help them further. So
I consider myself a facilitator of the journey. I'm not here to heal you. You have all the power within you to heal yourself. So it's just what I do is I guide you on the journey back to yourself, back to loving yourself. I'm just there holding your hand while you figure it out from within, because we all have the power within, and it's just learning how to reclaim that power.
Yeah, exactly. So you can't give the answers, but you can put people in an environment where they can find the answers for themselves.
Yes, exactly.
Amazing. And in terms of all you've done so far, where do you want to kind of take this further? So is there different kind of people you're noticing? I mean, previously, just in terms of this industry, it used to be people who are like middle-aged, struggling with workload maybe, but nowadays I'm noticing a lot of younger people are also struggling with mental health, and they're also struggling with problems. Before, younger people used to be carefree, but now you've got things like unemployment. People are there's this thing I saw where people are over educated but underemployed, so they're all getting these qualifications but they're not getting employment, or they're struggling with relationships, or they're struggling with life in general, or especially with social media, struggling to not compare themselves to others. So are you noticing that change in terms of the people that may be coming to you?
So not necessarily coming to me, but in conversations I have with everybody talks about the younger generation, right. And I've seen it myself. I have, it's something that I have recognized. And maybe because people keep discussing it with me, maybe it is an area that I do need to consider kind of going into. It's not something I feel called into at the minute, but I will never turn away someone if they need help and they come to me and we are aligned, if there's an energetic, kind of connection, and I believe I can help them, and I believe that they are ready to help themselves, because this is the important thing. If you're not ready to help yourself, then I can't help you, because it means that you're expecting me to fix you, and I'm not here to fix you. I'm here to show you how you can access your self-healing. So I do kind of feel like I'm going to end up working a lot with men. Right now I work mainly with women. But yeah, maybe I do need to start considering, the younger generation, even if it's just a free community or something. I don't know, because everybody I have a conversation with brings this up with me, and I listen to the sides. I'm very aware of kind of the things that are showing up in my reality. It means that it's something that I need to pay attention to. So maybe it's the younger generation I'm supposed to be working with rather than men. Let's see. Everybody's journey changes through the years. And it's following these leads, following these signs, and following what feels good to you. My ultimate vision is to be a speaker on international stages. So I see myself being a motivational speaker, talking about this topic, falling in love with yourself, because it's so important, and so many people don't realize how important it is, and so many people give their power away to other people. They expect their husband, their wife, their sister, their brother, their best friend to make them happy. They expect their manager to just give them a bonus. They expect, because they've been there for 5 years or whatever. But everything in life comes with taking action yourself, and you have to be you have to be the leader in your life in order to achieve the things that you want to achieve. It's unfair to put that kind of pressure on other people because they've got their own, lives to deal with. They've got their own decisions to make. So yeah, it's very important that people do need to understand that, it comes from within. And we all have that ability, and it can be really, really, really hard to take that first step into doing it, because it means being vulnerable, and it means kind of owning up to decisions and choices that you've made that have brought you to where you are in your life today. And again, there are no right or wrong things. They're just events that happened along your path to get you to where you are today, to realize that you need to reclaim your power, you need to reclaim your life. And people like me are here to help people like that. But there's so much free stuff out there as well. If you are an action taker, if you are someone who can be self-motivated, then you will find everything that you need for free. But sometimes people who have had it harder, sometimes people who feel more challenged, who are less self-motivated, that's where you benefit from group experiences, becoming involved in kind of communities where you're paying a fee each month, or working one-on-one with a coach or a healer or a mentor or whatever it is.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because from our conversation, it makes it sound like if you're struggling, then you have to go get a coach. But there is so much free stuff out there, and let alone free stuff, there's so many mediums to absorb this information. You've got books, you've got free podcasts, you'll have loads of YouTube channels, you'll have loads of courses. It's so many, and of course you've got the free masterclasses as well from people like yourself. So there's so much free stuff for you to either try to help yourself, or if you are thinking about getting a coach, at least giving you the foundational knowledge that you need, so you know kind of what you're getting yourself into, because these books and stuff, they'll give you that understanding. I'm reading a book right now, it's called Energy Rules. It was a bit of a weird one. I just kind of went to the library and I was like, it looks okay, I'll read it. But yeah, it's all about how in life there's different forms of energy, and how you can have people who add to your energy, you can have people who take away from your energy. And as much as it sounds very spiritual, I think it's more just kind of like, it helps to explain the unexplainable things that happen in life. So for example, if your boss didn't say something to you, but you just felt that there was something weird about him, or let's say you go into a scenario, into a conversation, you don't know anyone, but you can just feel that there's this tension. It's unexplainable, and I think these kind of books really help to kind of give it some kind of modality and some kind of understanding behind it, and it kind of helps to break things down a little bit. So yeah, that book's kind of interesting. So
thank you, I'm going to put that on my list for reads in the book club.
yeah, perfect. Well, Carolyn, thanks so much for coming on, and it's been a pleasure to speak to you about your journey, but then also so many of the other side topics that go into learning about how to teach others, and then also the financial side and the kind of like the business side, the corporate side of all of this. And discussing that spirituality is something that affects everyone, even people who don't think that they're in a vulnerable situation. Every single day we'll be having that kind of energy transfer and kind of like talking through problems, and some people are able to solve their problems on their own, but some people aren't. And I'm glad that we discussed kind of what are the options available to those people that aren't able to. So for you, how can people get involved with what you do? How can they interact and maybe get in touch?
So I think follow me on Facebook is my main medium. I'm trying to break into Instagram as well. I've always felt resistance there, which means it's uncomfortable. And so what do I have to do? Get in there. You can follow me on TikTok as well. But yeah, I will be doing a free masterclass in the next couple of weeks. I just need to decide the actual date. And from there, I'm going to be launching a program. I just need to decide if it's going to be a 9-month program or if it's going to be an ongoing subscription. And it's going to be about healing yourself from within. So creating the feeling of safety from within. Learning to trust yourself, believe in yourself, knowing your worth and the value that you bring just as you are, and knowing that you are enough, and if you make a mistake, that's okay. Is it a mistake that you can learn from? Can you forgive yourself for it? What can you do to forgive yourself for it? And exactly, just learning to work with your energy, and understanding it's all about feeling good. It's all about feeling good, and the only way that you can cultivate that feeling goodness is from within.
Yeah, amazing. That's solid advice. Thank you so much, Carolyn. And all the links will be down in the description for anyone who's interested. Thank you for coming on, and I look forward to keeping in touch.
Great, thanks a lot, Krishna. It's been amazing. Have a wonderful day.